Okay, welcome everybody to the 13th class in this Bhagavad Gita study series. We are studying chapter 3 on the Karma Yoga. So, if everybody can mute the mics. Okay, as usual, our acknowledgement to Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati for his traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankara. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankara in the middle, and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramatmananda Saraswati. Okay, with that, we will jump in to where we left off yesterday. So, last class. So, last class, we covered the core of this chapter, after which the chapter itself was named. This is the portion on Karma Yoga. And the summary is that the actions have to be done with the right attitude. These actions alone can purify the mind. That is why Krishna uses the term Buddhi Yoga. Esha te bihita sankhye buddhi yogam tvimam shrunu. There, Buddhi Yoga does not mean Jnana Yoga. So it means the yoga of right understanding. Bhuttya sharanam anvichak. Karma bandham prahasyasi. By taking refuge in this right attitude, karma bandham prahasyasi. You just cast away the bonds of karma, which causes rebirth. Okay? So, and why do you have to purify the mind? So these are to purify the mind. A purified mind alone is fit for knowledge. And why knowledge? A wise person alone will be free from suffering and attain liberation. Ashochan anvashochastvam prajnavadanshcha bhashase ghatasoon agatasoonscha nanushocanti panditaah. The wise don't grieve. That's the beginning of Bhagavan's teaching. Starts with the 11th shloka of the second chapter, starts with this wise do not grieve. So once the mind is purified for receiving knowledge, one can do less actions. We saw that in the sannyasa and the grihastha lifestyles, right? One can do less actions for purification and do more contemplation. And I'll give you a verse which will come in the 6th chapter. 6th chapter is the chapter on yoga, primer on yoga. So there Bhagavan says, Arurukshor mune yogam karma karanam uchyate yogarudasya tasyaiva shamakaranam uchyate. Aruruksho mune, the one who is starting in the yoga, for that person, karma is the means. Karma karanam uchyate. Karma is the means to getting to where you want to go. Yoga rudam means one who is established in yoga. Yoga rudasya tasyaiva shama karanam uchyate. Shamaha means meditation and getting to states of mind which are calmer for contemplation. Okay, so that is what Bhagavan says. And we saw that Bhagavan very clearly says everybody has to perform actions. And now he's going to say even the wise people who attained a certain state, even they have to perform actions because it's an obligation to the world. He's going to say that now. And obligatory actions are superior to inaction. Even the maintenance of the body is not possible from inaction. So everybody has to act. Now, Krishna, he preemptively, he knows where Arjuna, every question of Arjuna has a hidden intent. Arjuna wants to escape the battlefield. Arjuna is a great warrior, but he is such a kind soul too. He cannot bear shooting arrows at his grandfather and his teacher. Two people, the rest he doesn't care. These two people are the most important. So Bhishma and Dronacharya, he doesn't want to fight. And he's trying to find loopholes, right? So now he may say, okay, I'm a wise person, so I don't need to fight the war. I can walk away. I'll go become a sannyasi. Then Krishna preemptively, he anticipates that Arjuna will say this. And so Krishna talks about the duties and his role model stature. Everybody respected Arjuna, greatest warrior on the planet. And he gives the example of Janaka. Janaka was the father of Sita. And this is the previous yuga. And there, Janaka was a great king, and he was also fully enlightened. So Krishna gives the example of Janaka. And why is he doing this? So there are certain authoritative sources of how to live life. These are called dharma pramanani. Pramana means an authoritative source of knowledge. Dharma is the right way of living. So dharma pramanani are these texts, which are stories which talk about how great people lived. So if you look at the sources of dharma, which is the right way to live, which is not the right way, Vedas, then the Smritis, Granthas, we talk the Vedas are the Shruti revealed, Smriti are written by sages. This includes the Itihasas, everything, the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and then lifestyles of cultured people. This is also a Dharma Pramana, authoritative source of how to live life. So there's the example in the Mahabharata of Kuchela. Kuchela was also known by the name Sudama. So the story, many of you would be familiar with the story, but I'll tell that, to give a short version. Kuchela and Krishna, they studied together at Sandipani's ashram. They were very good buddies, but Kuchela comes from a poor background. Krishna is a prince. After they completed their studies, Krishna goes to the kingdom. Kuchela comes back to the village. He's a Vedic scholar. He teaches, but very poor person. Kuchela and had a wonderful wife, the most brilliant, smartest, kindest woman. And Kuchela was so lucky, he would say, he was so lucky to have her as a wife. And they had many kids also. And he was living in poverty. One day they were seeing their kids starving. So the kids were asking, Mom, can I please have? They've not eaten even a single meal in the last few days. Then Kuchela's wife tells him, so remember, Krishna is such a kind, magnanimous person. Everybody talks so greatly about him. Could you go to Krishna, ask him for a little bit of help? Because our children, even if we don't eat, it's okay. Our children are starving. And Kuchela was hesitant because he's such a person, he doesn't want to ask anybody for anything. But the thought of seeing Krishna, it just comes into his mind. And he said, okay, I'll just go, I'll see Krishna. And my wife wants me to ask something. I'll see if I can ask, but I can't go empty handed. So the last piece of a little half cooked rice that his wife gives to him. So he ties it in his cloth. He doesn't even have an old torn cloth. He puts it. I will give this. I mean, I can't go empty handed. So I will go give this to Krishna, who's the king of Dwaraka. And then on his way, he was thinking, oh, I wish I could. Now I'm going to see Krishna, but I'm not sure if the guards in the palace would let me in. And my greatest desire is to wash Krishna's feet and rest my head on Krishna's feet. This is what he's thinking. So Kuchela goes to the palace. Nobody asks anything. Guards don't even, they just let him go. So he goes, and then finally he tells the guards at the entrance to the palace that he's come to see Krishna. They were students together. Then the guards go tell Krishna, and then Krishna comes running to greet Kuchela. And what does Krishna do? Krishna washes his feet. So he was thinking he wanted to wash Krishna's feet, but Krishna washes his feet. So what it shows is that a great person, when he does act like that, others follow also. So he sets the right way to treat a guest. And Kuchela offers the food to Krishna. Krishna, the little thing, Krishna greedily eats it. And then Rukmini comes and stops. That's enough. You've eaten for enough, many lifetimes. Stops that. And then they talk about their glorious times in the ashram, their studies. Kuchela does not ask Krishna anything. Then he goes back home, just basking. Krishna, such a nice person, basking in the glory of his interaction with Krishna. But he forgot to ask what he had come for. And he's feeling guilty also. How what can I say, my wife? Then when he comes back home, he couldn't recognize this place. There's a huge palace. He thought maybe in my uh, absent-minded state, I've come to the wrong place. But and then he sees his wife coming out, bedecked with jewels and just beautiful clothes, children just with great clothes and just playing. Then he's just confused. Am I dreaming? Now then his wife says, Krishna has done that. And he not just, he's asked Vishwakarma, the divine architect, to create this palace. So that is even the great king, by doing the right duty of treating a guest, he has set an example of how Aditi, a guest, should be treated. Okay. So now Krishna is going to talk about duties of a jnani, an enlightened person, acting as role model to the society, even though this person has nothing to do. Okay. So we'll see the 20th shloka. कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुम् अर्हसि. By action, that is duty, alone, people like Janaka have attained this perfection. What is that perfection? Liberation. They attained liberation even with their bodies. Sadhyo muktihi, jivan muktihi. So it's not at the end of the life, but instantaneous liberation. Also, merely with the view of the world welfare, you should act. So, karman eva, only by actions, samsiddhi means perfection. Siddhi is perfection. Astita means attained. Janaka, adayaha. So, adayaha means etc. for people. So, adishu means etc. for objects. Adaya means etc. for people. Janaka and others, it's what it means, have attained liberation. So you in the Yoga Sutras, in the chapter on Siddhis, comes Maitriadishu Balani Baleshu Hasti Baladini. So Maitreya, by friendliness, Adishu, and these qualities, by meditating on that, you transmit that. Loving kindness meditation is what they use these days, right? So Maitriya Ishu Bhalani Baleshu Hasti Baladhini. You can get the strength of an elephant by meditating on, like Hanuman, somebody powerful. Okay, so that is the thing. So Janaka is used as an example of somebody who was a king. He was Sita's father. He was a king, but at the same time, he was an enlightened person. And I'd like to tell a small story. So here I have to, there's so many stories possible in this section. So we'll see. So this is Janaka was taught by Ashtavakra. Ashta means eight. Ashtanga, right? Eight. Vakra means curved or bent. So his body was crooked in 8 places. And he was Janaka's teacher. So you see him teaching Janaka here. So this is Ashtavakra, this is Janaka. And the story goes that this asana, Ashtavakrasana, is named after Ashtavakra. So the story goes that Ashtavakra, when he was in the womb of Sujata, he heard his father chanting. And his father would make mistakes. Kabora, even though he was a great scholar, he would make mistakes. Every time he would make a mistake, the child would kick his mother's stomach and make a sound from within and correct. His father was getting annoyed. After the 8th mistake, the father, in a fit of rage, curses the child to be born with 8 deformities. So the child was born with 8 deformities, but this was an enlightened child, just like his mother, Sujata, born of divine quality. Jati means it's birth, born of divine qualities. Such a noble woman, just because of her, was born one of the greatest yogis, Ashtavakra. And what happened was his father, before Ashtavakra was born, he was a great debater. And he wanted to become famous. So he debated with somebody in Janaka's kingdom called Varuna. It's not the god Varuna, but another Varuna. And the condition of the debate was that the one who loses will become a slave to the other and serve the other. So Ashtavakra's father, Kabora, lost the debate and had to serve this person, Varuna. And Ashtavakra only knew of this later, at age 12. Immediately he goes to Janaka's palace to rescue his father. At that time, when he enters he enters the palace, the court of the king, he was crooked and all that. All the ministers in the court, they start laughing at this figure. Then Ashtavakra was not at all hurt. He was just looking at them. And after they stop their laughter, he starts laughing back at them. He is just, and then Janaka was very puzzled. He says, "Why are you laughing?" Ashtavakra says, "Your court is full of shoemakers." What do you mean by that? Janaka asks. "Only shoemakers are worried about the exterior, the leather exterior of the skin of animal," right? So that's a powerful example he uses. A wise person only cares about what is inside, the Atma. And then Janaka, he sees this is a divine person. And as he requested, he he organizes a debate between Varuna and Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra trumps Varuna. Varuna says, "I will be your servant." He said, "You don't need to be anybody's servant, just return my father." And Ashtavakra gets his father back. Even though his father curses him, that's the noble soul, Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra was Janaka's teacher. And Janaka was enlightened because of Ashtavakra's teaching. So that's the story of Ashtavakra. There's also a sub-story in that. So Ashtavakra is teaching all these people, the sannyasis. They have very few positions, right? Because they're sannyasis. And Janaka also comes to that. One day, Ashtavakra will not start the class till Janaka comes. And Janaka comes late very often because he's the king, right? He's busy with everything. And only then he'll start the class. So all these sannyasis, they get very jealous. We are the ones who have given our entire lives to the pursuit of knowledge. But you are giving more importance to this king who comes late all the time. And so Ashtavakra wanted to teach a lesson. Ashtavakra was a great yogi. By his magic, his yogic powers, he creates an illusion that the entire city is burning. So this is during class. He's teaching, and during that he creates a solution. All these sannyasis start running to go fetch their meager belongings. What is their meager belongings? Another set of clothes and their a vessel for begging for food. That's it. Janaka, on the other hand, is so deeply entrenched, he does not even move. And then Ashtavakra tells, "You silly guys, you have nothing, just a piece of loincloth, and you are so attached to that. Whereas this king, with all his wealth, he is not even moving because he is so deeply rooted in wisdom. He knows that whatever happens around, it is not him that will get hurt." So this is another example of Janaka. Okay, so 21st shloka. Yad yad acharati shrestah tattadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. So you know what a pramana is? Pramana is like an authoritative source. Pratyaksha Anumana Agama Pramanani. So we saw that in the Yoga Sutras. Pratyaksha is direct perception. Anumana, inference. If there's smoke, you know there's fire somewhere. Pratyaksha Anumana Agama are sources which, like the Veda, which you know coming from a very authentic, highly respectable source. That's also a pramana. So whatever is superior or a distinguished person does, that other people will follow. Whatever they set as a standard, that is pramanam. Sa yat pramanam kurute. Whatever they make as a standard, pramana, tad lokaha anuvartate. World follows that. Okay, so yad acharati shresha tadat eva itaro janaha. Itara, with so that itaresham, it means others. So the word itara, we've also seen that in the Yoga Sutras. Some people, bhava pratyayor videha prakritilayanam. Some people are naturally gifted with their minds able to concentrate. For others, shraddha, virya, smriti, samadhi, prajna, purvaka, itaresham. Itaresham means others. All these are needed: faith, shraddha, virya, vigor, smriti, good memory, samadhi, good mental calmness, prajna, wisdom. All these proceed for others. Okay, I'm just giving some word examples. Also, um, so I don't want to get too much into this Sanskrit because I can bore some people. But once in a while, there are a lot of, so all the Indo-European languages, they come from Sanskrit. So you will find the words roots are very similar, many words. I'll give one example of loka. Loka means world. How did it get the name world? So the English word look is very similar. So loka is a place where you experience. There can be other lokas too. So loka is defined as a place where you experience. How? With your sight and others. So you see, perceive. This is called seeing. So the word look comes from that. And this I learned from Swami Sarvapriyananda, so who is an authentic source. So that is just gives you a feel for some of these words. So the human mind, has sheepish mentality. Follow the leader. So Krishna tells Arjuna, if you run away from the battlefield, of course, people will laugh at you, but now others will have an excuse. Great warriors will abandon their posts and they will go away too. So don't do that. So human mind is a sheepish mind. So in the second chapter, we saw Bhayadranadu paratam mamsyante tvam maharataha yesham chatvam bahumataha bhutva yasyasi lagavam. And he says, avachyavadancha bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha Nindantastava samartyam tatho dukkataram nukim. Avachya vadam, unspeakable words. Vadam, speech. Avachya means unspeakable speech. Bahun, many, your, who will say, Vadishyanti Tava, your hita, your enemies will speak unspeakable speech. And they will also, now, after doing all this, they will find an excuse to run away. So that's what Krishna is saying. They will laugh at you and they will also run away. So don't do that. You are like a role model in society. So you have some standards. You have to act that way. Then Krishna says, he talks about himself now. Very important shloka. न मे पातासि कर्तव्यम् त्रिषु लोकेषु किञ्चन नानवाप्तमवाप्तव्यम् वर्त एव च कर्मणि. Oh Partha, for me there is not anything that ought to be done. There's nothing that ought to be done in these three worlds. Bhu, Bhuvaha, so all the Swarga, the Bhuloka, and the Naraka. Not anything unattained that has to be attained. Na avaptavyam means that has to one which we want to attain. Na anavaptavyam, avaptavyam. So there is nothing unattained that has to be attained. Avaptavyam is attained. Anavaptavyam is unattained. There's nothing unattained that has to be attained. Varta eva cha karmani. Varta, I engage, and yet I engage in actions, even though there's nothing that I have to attain. So Bhagavan says, so even me, God, has to do work. And this is actually a very profound shloka because, and we'll come to this in the last part. So this is very, you can put, I should put a star here because this is a source of misinterpretation. Bhagavan creates suffering in the world. So people think he's doing this for evil pleasure, sadistic pleasure. He's creating suffering. But Bhagavan will later clarify, I am not the one creating suffering. It is, I am just like a light. We saw that right in the second chapter. I illuminate everything. That's all my role is. But the gunas of these people, that is under individual control. How they do, it is up to them. Okay. Yadi hyaham na varteyam jatu karmanyatandritaha mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha. Oh Partha, surely if ever I were not to engage myself in action tirelessly, people will follow my path in every way. So this is also a very important shloka. I should probably put a star here. Yadi, if, yadi jatu, if ever, aham, na varteyam. Varteyam means engage. How engage? Engage in what? Karmani. Atandritaha, which means tirelessly. If I don't do actions tirelessly, Mama Vartman, my path Vartman is path. Mama Vartman, Anuvartante means Anu, it always means follow. It's Anu means flow, follow. Anuvartante, Manushaha, people, Partha, Sarvashaha. In every way, people will follow what I do. Which means if I were lazy, everybody would become lazy. Entire world. And what will happen? He's going to say that in the next shloka. Utsideyurime loka na kuryam karma chetaham sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyami ma prajaha. Utsideyuhu who would perish. What will perish? These worlds will perish if I were not to perform action. I would be the maker of confusion in the society. And most importantly, telling something powerful. I would make all these beings insane because they don't know what to do or what not to do. It will cause insanity. The word he is using is upahanyam. So look at the powerful word it is. Upa means near. Upanishad means sitting near a teacher to learn something, right? Upahanti means which are najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vanabhuya. So na hante na hanyate hanyamane sharire it comes. Hanti means to kill, so or destruction. So it is close to death, close to getting killed. What is that? Insanity. One step below death. And we saw that Bhagavan also says that Jhayato Vishayan Pumsaha. It's a very important shloka in the second chapter. Sangasteshu bhijayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate krodhat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smritir vibramaha smritir pramshat buddhi nashaha buddhinashat pranashyati. When your mind is lost, that is one step below death. Pranashyati, destruction, complete destruction. What it all happens with what? When your mind constantly rests on a sense object, you get attachment. From attachment, anger. Anger comes smritir vibramaha, smritir vamshat buddhinashaha. From confusion of memory and your mind getting disheveled, your intellect, judgment is gone. Then insanity and destruction. So here he says the same thing. Utsidehu, all these loka will perish. Kuryam karma chedaham ched. If I were not to do this, sankara, it's not shankara. Sankara means confusion. In the Yoga Sutras also it uses the word smriti samskara. Sankara means smriti samskara, memory confusion. Okay, and this is I don't want to get into the a diversion, but this is also a very important term used in the asana world when you do physical adjustments. It'll probably be too much of a digression, but later one day we'll cover that. Okay, we are doing okay on time. Then Bhagavan says, okay, so how should a wise person act? So he says, Sattha karmanya vidvansaha yata kurvanti bharata kuryat vidvans tata saktaha chikir shurloka sangraham. Oh Arjuna, Bharata refers to Arjuna. Just as the unwise perform actions with attachment to the results, so too the wise should perform actions for the welfare of the world. Chikirshu, Loka Sangraham. Loka Sangraham means world welfare. Ikshati means desire. Right? Chikirshu means wishing. Wishing welfare of the world, one should do kuryat vidvans, the wise people. Tata asaktaha, unattached to the fruits of actions, should do actions for the welfare of the world. Okay, now Bhagavan, he says, is going to get into something very important. Very often there's a lot of people in the spiritual circles, there's a certain compulsion. You see that in the asana world also, right? We're getting a lot of people here, they practice asanas. You have to do it this way, otherwise just it'll ruin all that. Bhagavan very clearly says don't do this. And in fact, Patanjali also, tatastad vipakanu gunanam eva avipyaktir vasananam. Only when the conditions are right, a person is able to do the vasanas, the imprints will manifest forth when the conditions are right. This is what they call Jyotish or whatever. But here Bhagavan is saying the same thing. Na buddhi bhedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam joshayet sarva karmani vidvan yukta samacharan. Let the wise not unsettle the minds of the unwise who are attached to the fruit of actions, because it is hopeless and useless. The wise person, how should that wise person act? Who is ever steadfast in knowledge, by performing actions well, should encourage the unwise to do actions. Set a role model example. Don't keep pushing them to do this. You just do, people will follow you. That's why in the Ramayana, apparently Rama didn't preach at all. He just acted like a role model for everybody to follow. So buddhi bhedam means unsettling the minds of janayet. Means jana. So jana here is not people, it means should not create. Don't create unsettling of the minds of whom? Ajnanam, those who lack jnana is not knowledge. Ajnanam, those who lack the knowledge. Karma sanginam, those who are attached to the fruits of actions. Joshayet. So Josh, it's in Hindi, Josh, it's you have to encourage, just uplift them, encourage them. Sarva karmani um, vidvan yukta samacharan. By doing actions well, you encourage others to follow suit. Okay. Then Bhagavan says, now, okay, he says how the wise should act. Now he says, what, what actually, it's actually a very important shloka. This is like the precursor for a lot of other chapters. What causes person to act? And Krishna says it is gunas of the Prakriti. Prakrite guna. So we'll see the shloka. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarpashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Actions are performed by the gunas of Prakriti in various ways. The person who is deluded by the ego ahankara, thinks I'm doing the action. So there are different layers. So the three: Stula Shariram, Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram. Stula is the physical body. Karana is this ahankara, all this stuff. The Sukshma Shariram is the one where all the imprints, everything reside. Okay, this is the one which goes from one body to another. Atma is just like the electricity, just like the light. It just gives electricity to light up something. In the light, everything happens. It does not do any action. It is these gunas of Prakriti which cause, by which actions are performed. Prakrite gunai, the gunas of Prakriti, kriyamanani, perform. So kriyamanani are performed. So what? Karmani, karmani kriyamanani. Actions are performed by what? Prakrite gunai, by the gunas of Prakriti, sarvashaha, in various ways. Ahankara vimudatma, beauty, ego. Vimuda means, we saw that muda. Vimuda means someone who's like a distilled idiot. So that's what Krishna uses, a strong term. Muda, he doesn't stop with it. Vimuda, completely. Vi is a prefix which accentuates muda. So even muda, so even in English, there's some words, so the mood, all these things, it comes from this root. Bad, so mood was used in a bad connotation, bad mood. Vimuda, kartaham iti manyate, thinks they do everything. Okay, Then what about a wise person? Tattva vittu mahabaho Gunakarma vibhagayoho Guna guneshu vartanta Iti matva na sajjate. Tattvavit, the knower of the truth, whereas the knower of the truth, of what truth? Of the division of the gunas and their functions. O mighty armed Mahabaho, great armed Arjuna, this knower of the truth engages in actions without attachment. There is something you have to engage. This Prakriti gunas, they force you to do certain things. If your body feels thirsty, yeah, and you have a craving for some kind of foods, you have a taste for some kinds of foods, you go, you know, it's the gunas which push you towards that. So this person knows it is not the Atma, it is this gunas which force. So by doing that, this person is acting without attachment. There are certain forces of nature which pushes people in some directions, but this person goes through them without attachment. Some amount you'll engage, but the second dart they call in Buddhism, which increases that more and more when you dwell upon that, that is not there. Fully knowing that it is the gunas that engage with the sense object and not the higher self, which is the sakshi or the witness principle. That is the Atma. Okay? So, tattvavit, the one who knows the truth, tattvam, truth or the essence, with is the knower. Mahabaho, mighty armed, guna karma vibhagayo. Karma here means a function. Guna and their functions vibhagayo, they know the distinction, the division. So they're not meshed, entrapped in this gunas. Guna guneshu vartanta. So the gunas engage with guneshu, the sense objects, having iti matva, knowing that they are not attached to these. Okay, that clear? So there is a chapter, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, 14th chapter, where this is treated in great details. Guna means a property. Gunas are the property of the, we saw that mind, body, sense complex, which is illumined by the consciousness, Atma. They call it Chidabhasa. So that's a technical term used in Vedanta for, so the Brahman is there everywhere, right? And the Atma is, they call it the reflected consciousness. It's called Chid Abhasa. Chid is the consciousness. Abhasa means reflection. So it's a reflection about same light. You reflect with a mirror, it's still light, but it's reflected. So there are many mirrors. They're all like pointing like this. So sunlight, one sunlight reflecting off mirrors and shining here, shining many, many mirrors like that. Chit Abhasa, that's the term. Anyway, it's too technical, but that is the ahankara. So it is the mind, body, sense illuminated by the reflected consciousness. This is the ahankara. It thinks it is everything, but no, it's just the ahankara is an inert entity, but because of this light, it thinks it is the one. So the mirror thinks, oh, everything is happening, it's me who's doing all that. No, there is a sunlight which is causing that. That ahankara is the false notion of me. No, it is that sunlight, it is not this little mirror. Okay, so this is an example used in Vedanta to illustrate the difference. This mirror thinks I am the originator of the light. The mind thinks that entire notion, that is called ahankara. We saw the 4 parts of the mind: mana, buddhi, ahankara, and chitta. Yeah, so not chitta. Chit iva bhavayati iti chittam. It thinks it is the consciousness, but it's not. It is just the movie theater of the mind, chitta. Okay. So Jnani gives the right amount of importance to Ahankara. Knows, yes, there's my gunas will push me in some ways. The Jnani knows that. Ajnani thinks they are the Ahankara. So one acts with a sense of detachment, other is totally submerged in this. But this we'll see more in the 14th chapter and in preceding chapters too. Krishna will talk a lot about it. So I'm just giving you a heads up. So you know the concept. Okay, the last sloka, I believe. Prakriter sammudaha sajjante guna karmasu Tana Krishna Vido Mantan Krishna Vinna Vichalayet. Those who are deluded by the gunas of Prakriti get attached to the functioning of the gunas. And again, Krishna, see how important. He says the wise should not unsettle the immature people of incomplete understanding. Never do that. Never go tell, lecture them, do all that. Just be a role model. So this is important shloka. So prakrite guna, again he uses mind, body, senses. Gunas born of this mind, body, senses. Sammudaha, those who are, here previously he uses the term vimudaha, which means distilled, stupid people. Here sammudaha, totally, some, complete. Those who are totally deluded by the gunas of Prakriti, sajjante, they get attached to the guna karmasu, to the functioning of the gunas. Tan akritsna means like holistic picture. Tan akritsna vido mandan, those who don't see the big picture, the full thing. The mandan, the dull-headed people, the Kritsnavin na vichalayet, the people who see the big picture, the wise people, they should not unsettle the minds of these people. Vichalayet means unsettle. In fact, in the 6th shloka also this word would be used. Yam labdva cha param labam manyate nadikam tataha tasmin yasmin stito na dukkena guruna api vichalayet. It's talking about yoga. In yoga, you get so much internal peace. However big a suffering you get, you are not unsettled mind because it finds a source of happiness somewhere else. The meditation and the yoga practice one does. So this is a very important shloka which will come in the 6th chapter. So I am just giving you a preview. Okay, so we've studied 10 verses today. Duties of a jnani. The summary is Ajnanis, unwise, have to do Karma Yoga for Chitta Shuddhi, which means purification of the mind. Shuddham is cleaning. Chitta, the mind. Chitta Shuddhi, purification of mind, is Karma Yoga. The Jnanis have to do karma for Loka Sangraha, welfare of the world, even though they don't have to do anything. So Janaka could have just gone to the forest and say, okay, I'll just meditate till I give up the body. I'm so happy, I have nothing else to do, but he still does that because it's his duty. So we have covered first the 2 lifestyles in Karma Yoga, life predominant in Karma Yoga, Grihastha, life predominant in Jnana Yoga, Sannyasa. Why did we cover this? Because Arjuna wants to become a sannyasi. So Krishna had to pull him in. Then detailed description of Karma Yoga, not getting attached to action results. Yajna, Krishna uses the term yajna. Okay, even if you want results, do it as an offering for a greater good or to the Supreme. So we saw, and we'll talk about different types of yajnas. And then we saw the duties of a jnani. So in the topic of, are there any questions here? If not, I'll tell a story. So please let me know if there are questions. Any questions?
I have a question, but I'm not sure if this is the right time to kind of ask that also. You talked about ahankara, and that was very clear. Uh, the other three parts of the mind, like
Yeah,
mano, buddhi, and chitta,
yeah.
will you be able to explain that now, or like is that too vast to?
Um, yeah, so I have to pull the slide so that it becomes very clear in the context. Let me do it a little later. First,
Yeah.
let's cover the story. Let me also get the slide. So let's see. I have to see where it is. So first, let's cover the story. Okay. So we talked about yajna, right? When um, Yudhishthira, Anushasanam. So again, Shasanam means rule. Anushasana means again going to rule. After the war, he takes up the kingdom, which is rightfully his. And before starting to rule, he makes a great yajna where he did a great puja for the well-being of the world, and he gave a lot of things in charity. All the wealth he gave in charity to a lot of people who needed that. Everybody said never was a yajna done that was anywhere close to this greatest yajna. That time, a mongoose comes into the place where the yajna was done. So they were all doing this fire, they were doing this puja, precisely constructed. All the Brahmins, they were scholars, they're all chanting. Mongoose comes and rolls on the ground. And everybody's wondering, what is the mongoose doing here? Then the mongoose looks at everybody. You guys are claiming your yajna is the greatest yajna, but it is not at all a great yajna. And people were aghast. One guy was going to take a stick and beat the mongoose. Yudhishthira stops. He says, stop. And the surprising thing is, the mongoose is talking in human language. And the mongoose has something to say. So then they listen. The mongoose, he says, you guys have given gold coins to priests, given to all the people. They were all got a lot of things, lame, blind, and everybody, they got clothes, whatever they needed. um, Everybody is comparing. This person, he has given 3 times that dakshina to the priests for doing this yajna. And this mongoose, so it comes, this mongoose is very strange. Half of its body was golden, half was dark brown. And as I said, everybody was saying it's conducted with great pomp and splendor, this yajna. Then it says, your yajna is nothing compared to the sacrifice made by a Brahmin, a poor Brahmin, a noble, learned person. And then the mongoose tells the story. Once upon a time, there was in the home, there lived a Brahmin, his wife, his son, and daughter-in-law. Simple and austere life. They did a lot of yajnas. And one day, the gods, they wanted to test this Brahmin. So um, they sent Indra comes as a guest, disguised as a Brahmin. And these people are very poor. They had nothing to eat. So then whatever they have not eaten in days, but the little amount they had, they offer it to this Brahmin, to this guest. And the guest, he just gobbles it up. And they've given everything, the last bit they have given. They have nothing to eat at all. They've not eaten for days. and they've somehow gotten a little bit of food, and this guest greedily eats up everything. And then towards the end, when they have nothing left, then the guest, he reveals his true form. It is Indra, and he says, you have passed the test, even though you knew you were going to die, because you were on the brink of death. You controlled all your senses and offered. You are not forced by nature, the impulse. You are so noble. You had such great control that you knew how to treat a guest. You are fit for heavens. So Indra's chariot comes, and they attain moksha. I mean, go to the heavens. They may not have attained moksha, but they go to the heavens. Then the mongoose says, it went into that house, and it trips and falls on the flour that was left on the ground, and it realized that part of the body on which fell on the ground, it became golden. Ever since, the mongoose has been visiting yajna after yajna after yajna to see if it could turn the other half golden, but it did not succeed. So it says that is the greatest yajna that was completed. Okay, so let us stop here. Oh, sorry. I'll stop the recording.